What's up, everybody? Commissioner's Eye here. What is today? Happy Tuesday, I believe. Is it Tuesday? It might have only been Monday. Happy Tuesday, the 14th of November. It's crazy to think that 2023 is almost over. We're approaching, hate to say it, but we're approaching playoffs. Christmas, and then shit gets real, right? So hope everybody's doing well. Haven't done one of these in a while. So let's talk about the league, where we're at. There's not really any new news. It's kind of to the point where the league is running itself, which is a good thing, right? We don't have too many questions, too many things going on. I'm trying to pull up the standings right now. We'll go division by division real quick. Division PG, best water, don't at me. Mud Dogs, looks like he's going to win that division, even though he's lost two in a row, 15-5. Looks like he'll be a playoff team. You got two other teams that, they're probably not going to make the playoffs. They're 8-12, and then obviously your one and only commissioner is 1-19. I'm not tanking though. And then you got Black Mamba. It's crazy. I thought this division would be better than what it is. Team Dan Stutz is 10-10. Everybody in this division is on a multiple game losing streak. So I think the league is tough. I think people are figuring that out. It's tough to win, and I said the good teams every year are going to separate themselves, but I don't think somebody will be good every year. I think that people are going to have to rebuild, and that's why I thought, a lot of people gave up draft picks without cost. I would say they gave up draft picks so easily, in my opinion. That's my opinion. Does that mean that I'm correct? That doesn't mean I'm correct. I feel like my camera's a little blurry. Yeah, that's just how I feel. And it's interesting, that's for sure. So that division, Black Mamba looks like Team Dan Stutz is going to win, but Caddy Kickers is there at 9-11, so they have a chance. Dr. Pepper, RIP to my guy. The Lions are king. Jimmy, he kind of went all in. Teamwork makes her squirt. Is 12-8, and then Free Jimmy is 10-10. So you got three solid teams there. Looks like three teams that are potentially going to make the playoffs. It'll be interesting. Jimmy kind of went all in this year, so he better make the playoffs. Tuck has been in it. I feel like Tuck's team wins a few in a row and then loses a few in a row, so it's a battle. Lord of the Rings, you got Trav, 19-1, number one team in the league right now. And then Furex Shift Bums, 7-week win streak. Trav's on a 12-week win streak. The Godfathers have kind of dropped 8 in a row. That's kind of crazy, to 9-11. And then Fuck Ohio, Team the Legend 24, 18-2. If Kyler comes back, and I obviously came back, but if he can come back and put up points, and this team stays healthy, I don't know how he's not going to win it all. Very, very loaded roster, made some great moves. Looney Tunes, Smokey, 16-4 on a 13 game for 517. Also in the Legend 24, Scoop is 12-8. He's had a good showing. So, but yeah, Looney Tunes 16-4 is kind of hanging in there. Hasn't been talked about much. Kind of one of those teams maybe that's sneaking in as a top dog. And then Show Me Your Tees 13-7. So, and then you got 9-11 chasing Hardware, 9-11, Lions Super Bowl champ. So 517 is probably the toughest division. They got top to bottom. If I had to rank them right now, you want commissioners rankings? I'll put Trav's team number 1, 1A, and Legend 24 1B, and then I would put I think I put Looney Tunes right there, 1C. I think those three teams have a chance, and then you've got about 4 or 5 teams that could pull an upset and make some noise. It'll be interesting. It's about staying healthy. I know if you're in the race, it's about staying healthy, and you got your fingers crossed every week, every time one of your good players plays, because if you lose somebody right now in a league like this, the disadvantage is so, the margin is so, it's tough, right? That's just the way it is in a bigger league. So I wish everybody the luck. If we're talking about draft status, it looks like I'm going to get the number 1 pick. And then there's, Kay Ritter had won a couple, so he is at 4 wins. But yeah, there's a battle for those top 5 picks, and it's going to be interesting because we've talked about it. You've got some really good college players that are going to come in and impact this league right away next year. So yeah, I think the league's in a good spot. I think people are figuring out how hard it is to win, but I think the top dogs, those 3 or 4 teams, have separated themselves. And I think what will get really frustrating in this league, and this will be the challenge to the this is my challenge to you guys as managers, owners, whatever you want to call yourself, is what if you're a team that can make the playoffs, but you can't win it. What does that feeling do if that happens to you multiple years in a row? And I think that will happen a lot. So it's going to be very interesting. But that's my challenge: is to stay competitive. Remember, the trade is open. The trade market is open. Um, I still think about the playoffs, what I want to do, but as of right now, I don't think we have anybody that has tried to really. I think there's been some trades where you could say one side won, but nobody's really trying to take advantage or help another person. So as of right now, yeah, the trade market will stay open. Will somebody make a trade? Right there towards the end of the playoffs, towards the end of the regular season, and the beginning of the playoffs. Some things people wanted to talk about. I know some offense coordinators have been fired. Uh, I'm trying to think of what offense coordinators got fired. Yeah, the Bills offense coordinator get fired. My thoughts on the Bills is interesting. I'm a Patriots fan. I'll talk about the Patriots a little bit. I'll give you my real as a fan. There was a stat at the beginning of the year I saw for the Bills. Don't quote me. I read this somewhere that said the Bills in the last 2 or 3 years had won the most one possession games. And so you could look at it one or two ways that Josh Allen he's him in those type of games, or maybe they just had gotten lucky and it was going to catch up to them after a while. I think that's what you're seeing. That not to say that he got lucky. I think Josh Allen is a pretty good damn quarterback. A lot of teams would take Josh Allen. I mean, we'd give up a leg, an arm, maybe even our head coach for Josh Allen on the Patriots right now. But I think when you're in that many close games in a league where the margin of error is so close in the NFL, that it's catching up to them. And you can't do that. Kira Dog has made an appearance. Everybody say hello to my dog, Kira. She will beg to go outside, even if she stays outside all day. So she's just here. So it's very interesting. And so I think it's catching up to the Bills that they play in that many close games. Eventually you'll be on the wrong side of that. So I feel bad sometimes that guys take the fall. I was thinking offense coordinator is Penn State. And we'll talk about Michigan here in a second. But so I feel bad for that guy because you watch that game and, I don't know if it's on the offensive coordinator. I think Josh Allen's pressing a little bit. And so, yeah, I feel bad for a guy that loses his job like that. That's been in that many close games. And when you're winning, you're on top of the world. But that's how sports are. We can even talk about Jimbo Fisher. I mean, imagine getting fired and getting an $80 million check. That is crazy. That's absolutely absurd. I'm trying to think if there's any other stories in the NFL. C.J. Stroud has been crazy. But I think the Texans, it shows you, if you can go into a team that has a good offensive line, a defense that will compete, they have a defensive-minded coach that helps them, and then not a great wide receiver crew, but decent, young. And I'll tell you what, I'm starting to lean this way in the NFL. Star wide receivers are really good, right? Jetta, Diggs, Jamar Chase. But for young quarterbacks, I don't know that star receiver is the answer because look at the Vikings. Jetta went down, and even me, I thought their season was over. But I think when guys can just go out there and play their position, they don't have to give this guy so many touches. They don't have to look at this guy first every play. They just get to go out there and ball. And, you see Dobbs doing that. You see, I was just going to talk about somebody. C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is doing that. I mean, you could argue that if somehow if the Texans make the playoffs, C.J. Stroud should be the MVP. I mean, it's crazy to think that, but he's balling. He really is balling, so good for him. I think that's a crazy story. So, feel free to comment. Let me know what you guys think about that. I know whoever has C.J. Stroud has to be thrilled. You have a franchise quarterback in a dynasty league. That's good for you. Bryce Young, on the other hand, is what happens when your team is not ready to compete. They're basically rebuilding, and they're just not there. Now they've had some close games, so I'm not ready to give up on Bryce Young yet. But obviously the Panthers need help. I see their fans are gonna, whatever for Frank Wright, strike or protest, whatever you want to call it. So it's very interesting. I know we have a lot of Lions fans in here. The Lions are very good. The Lions are very good when they get to be on script. You might say, Zai, what does that mean? When they get to control the game, they get to play ahead, run, play action, and so they're very good. I think the Lions and Cowboys are similar. Two different styles, though. I think the Cowboys' defense is really good when they're on script, and I think the Lions' offense is really good when they're on script. So I don't think either team can win the Super Bowl. Now, it's the NFL. Injuries happen, right? And home field advantage happens. And the Lions have a lot more winnable games. Their division's not very good. Now I know Lions fans, well, the Vikings are playing better. They are playing better. The Vikings are playing better, but the Packers suck, and the Lions have owned the Packers the last 2 or 3 games. The Bears suck. It seems they've moved on from Justin Fields, and then obviously the Vikings are playing well, especially now with Dobbs. So that will be interesting. But the Lions are, they're going to have a chance at a top 4 seed for sure. They're going to get a home game, and Ford Field will be rocking. So that's going to be very, very interesting. But yeah, I'm happy for my Lions fans in here, but I don't think they can win the Super Bowl. If you said Commissioner's Eye, Coach's Eye, what do you got? Who are your 4 Super Bowl teams? The top 4 teams that can win the Super Bowl? The Chiefs, they have the best player in the NFL. The Eagles, they have the best roster in the NFL. The 49ers, I think that they play the best at their best, but they also have so many levels. They sometimes they look terrible, but I think when those dudes are all locked in and they're healthy, and I mean they might as well gave Chase Young away for free, because that's how the 49ers got Chase Young for free. So 49ers, Eagles, Chiefs. I was gonna put the Bengals until this week. I may put the Bengals just because of Joe Burrow. I'm trying to think if I'm missing anybody in the AFC. I'm not a believer in the Dolphins. I know they have a lot of weapons, but I'm not a believer in them. I'll go Ravens, but I'm not a believer in Lamar either. But I'll go Ravens. I think they have their roster top to bottom is up there with those guys. So those are my 4 teams. And then kind of right on the outside looking in with the possibilities of the Lions, I'll say the Cowboys, even though I don't think they can. The Dolphins, the Bengals, and then maybe you could put another team in the AFC, the Browns. Trying to think if I'm missing anybody else. The Jaguars, maybe. They're again, kind of, up and down, up and down. So yeah, it's very interesting. But those are my top 4. I think a lot of people would agree with that. However you want to rate them 1 to 4, I don't think it matters. I think when those 4 teams play their best, it's a little bit better than everybody else in the NFL. I think that's all I got in the NFL. I think that's all I got for the league. There's no new news. We're just in that fantasy football, right? Kind of that grind. It's interesting. I think the trading has slowed down. It gets tougher to trade now, right? So it'll be interesting to see if that picks up at all. But just keep at it. Keep at it, and study. If you're looking to draft, study. Maybe look if you can make moves, stuff like that. So somebody said they wanted me to talk about Jim Harbaugh. Obviously, the Michigan. It's in the news every day. There's like a new story that comes out every day. First of all, that performance Saturday, that was one of a kind for sure. I thought that was one of the bigger games of my lifetime as a Michigan fan because of the scrutiny. And so let me first of all talk about sign stealing, in my opinion. What I think happened is that, did Michigan ethically do something wrong? I'm sure. Did they probably break an NCAA rule? I'm sure they did. I think every program probably breaks an NCAA rule every day with how many rules there are and how many stupid rules there are. What I think happened is Michigan started to do it better than the ones around them. Not better than Georgia, not better than Alabama. I don't need everybody going crazy. Better than Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, their foes. And then they started to get better players. And then they started winning. And somewhere along the lines, I'll give you a story. This is what happened, right? Ryan Day's out for breakfast, lunch, chatting it up with, Cousin Joe. Cousin Joe knows a guy that went to a game for Connor Stallions, or however you pronounce his name. Hey, man, did you know that Michigan's got some guy going around watching the games? And this is how this all happened. Was it Ryan Day? I don't know. Somebody, right? And, I think by rule, from what I know, I'm not an expert. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an NCAA, whatever. I'm not a Michigan representative. I'm just a diehard fan. It cannot be a staff member that goes to the game. It sure sounds like a staff member did not go to the games. Now, I know there was a picture of Connor maybe with Spy Kids glasses on at Central Michigan, Michigan State. If he was there, Michigan deserves to be punished. I'll tell you that. And they fired him. I think Michigan has handled this well. So, uh, do I think Harbaugh should take the blame? I mean, I get it. He's the head honcho, right? So I have mixed feelings because I think Harbaugh's the type of guy that goes to work and people are like, oh, somebody has to know. I don't think Harbaugh knew. I don't think he's that type of dude. I think Harbaugh's the type of dude to like put your hand in the dirt and work harder, right? I just feel that way. But I think at the end of the day, everybody steals signs. You hear all the great players talk about it. The guys that are talking about that are not stealing signs are Stephen A. Smith, Paul Feinbaum. These guys that aren't, they're not real football guys. The real football guys, and you didn't have to play at the highest level to know the game. I feel like they're doing it for ratings and all this stuff, but they're saying this has happened. This happens all the time. So here's what has happened. The NCAA has bad rules. Clearly, there should be microphones in the helmets. It would get rid of all the 35 coaches that are holding up poster boards and blocking the cameras. And what happened was that the NCAA doesn't like Jim Harbaugh to begin with because he floats the gray area lines, just like Bill Belichick in the NFL. The Big Ten doesn't keep things in house like the SEC does. There's a lot of moving parts in this, right? And it's Michigan. You want to make a national news. You want to be in the news. You want to spice up the conversation. You want to not talk about. You want something to be talked about, and for people to pay attention. Get Michigan in the news. So all this has happened, and so I thought if Michigan went and lost, oh, man, could you imagine what people would have said about Harbaugh, the sign stealing, everything if Michigan would have lost that game? It was kind of a lose-lose for Michigan. You're expected to win. You got to go into Penn State, which is one of the toughest places to play. You don't have your head coach, and you have all this going on, and you got to go on the road and win. And they did that. And they ran the ball about 55 times in a row in the second half. And if you're like me, I'm yelling, what in the bleep are we doing? Because I love JJ. I think JJ is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. The way I view it, I'd rather lose with JJ the ball in his hands. Don't get me wrong, Corum's a dog, Edwards is a dog, our offensive line. I get it. We're Michigan. We can win that way. But I know if we want to win the chip, it's win or lose with JJ McCarthy. But I don't know if it was just, Penn State's pass rush was killing us at the beginning of the game, and I think the adjustment was just run it, like let our defense win the game, and we'll break a few runs, and they did that. So I'm very, very happy. I think the whole thing is just blown out of proportion. I think that the NCAA should be looking at themselves first of all. I'm afraid that they're going to come down very hard on Michigan, but then on the other flip side, I think that if they really had this evidence that they're talking about, they would have just suspended Jim indefinitely. Maybe the other coaches, if they thought that they were tied in with Connor Stalions, and they would have said, we're going to investigate. When the investigation's over, we'll let you know the punishment. But for now, you're suspended. This is not good. So what I think has happened is you have a bunch of gray area rules that it's like, you didn't break the rule, but you shouldn't have done that. And they don't know what to do. And now that it's been on the national news, like I feel like the Big Ten commissioner, he got on the call on all these Big Ten teams, took a shot at Michigan. They're the top dog. And people are going to take shots at the top dog because you don't think they want to play in the Big Ten championship game? Ohio State views this and like, yeah, absolutely they're fucking cheating. Michigan probably do the same thing if that was Ohio State. That's competition. If the top dog slips up, you want to take advantage of it because that's your school that gets in. That's your coach that gets a bonus. That's your school on another national televised game. Trust me, there's a lot more that goes into it than just what we see on Twitter and all that stuff. So I'm torn. I don't know what will happen. I don't expect Michigan to win the case on Friday, even though I know they probably have good lawyers, and I think Harbaugh speaking will be emotional. But I expect the Big Ten to hold to its guns. It's a new commissioner, and he has a chance to make a splash. That's what he's doing. And so that's where I'm at with it. But the biggest thing for Michigan football is to win. And I hope Jim Harbaugh signs a lifetime contract, and I hope this is something where he comes out. I heard his brother say something today that it's one of those situations where you show your true colors, you come out a better man of something like this. And if he can do that, watch out. It could move a lot of people, and it could help. It could even help recruiting. We don't need help recruiting, but it could help recruiting. So that's my take. My take on Penn State firing their offensive coordinator is it's very interesting because I don't know. It's hard. James Franklin hasn't won the big game. we were on the verge of firing Jim Harbaugh because he couldn't beat Ohio State. Who is James Franklin? And I tell people this all the time. Coach Trav will tell you this. James Franklin maybe had one of the most talented Big Ten rosters of all time, and didn't win a national championship when he had Saquon and all those guys. And they were really good. They busted Michigan. Saquon destroyed Michigan, but and he had a chance, I thought, to dominate the Big Ten right there, and he didn't. He kind of let Ohio State. I mean, he beat Ohio State once or twice, beat Michigan State, but he didn't dominate like he should have at that time for some of the guys that he had on his team, Parsons and all this stuff. So I don't know. It seems that James Franklin struggles just a little bit of toughness. He kind of like Ryan Day, I would say, to some degree. I think Ryan Day has all the tools. Marvin Harrison, they have talented rosters. I think he's a good coach, but I think at the end of the day, push comes to shove, their team doesn't have that grit against Michigan. They haven't the last 2 years. We'll see this year. So that's my take. I feel bad when guys get fired mid-year. They're in the middle. They're doing everything they can. But sometimes people have to take the fall. But now that if James Franklin's picking the next offense coordinator, I'm telling him, all right, you got 2 years. If the offense doesn't dramatically change, you're both out of here. We're starting all over. So it's interesting. Texas A&M job is going to be very interesting because you're going to hear so many names: Urban, Dion, all these guys. It'll be interesting who Michigan State hires. If I had to predict a college football playoff right now, it would be Michigan. It'd be Georgia 1, Michigan 2. I would put Florida State 3 from what I've seen, and Ohio State 4, with knowing that Ohio State and Michigan are going to play. So, one of them will probably be out. But I think Oregon's on the. I think Oregon is probably a little bit better than both those teams, to be honest with you, just because of Bo Nix and how that Oregon-Washington game is going to be interesting. But I think Michigan and Georgia are a step ahead of everybody else, and I think Georgia might be a step ahead of everybody again. So it'll be interesting, that's for sure. Michigan just has to keep winning, but I think this week is a trap game at Maryland. I think that Michigan prepares for Ohio State a week earlier. We saw this last year when we played Illinois. We didn't play very well. We got really lucky. But now you have the drama. You have the court date on Friday, and then you got to go play on the road. Excuse me. Just got very tired. But, so trap game for Michigan. But overall, the league as well. I appreciate all you guys. Appreciate you guys asking about the podcast. And I hope you guys enjoy it. Just some takes. I'm always down for it. It's a great time of the year right now. Basketball, football, baseball just got done. Hockey. If you're a sports geek, you got to love this time of the year. So apologize to your wives because I know you guys are just like me. You just want to watch sports all day, every day. So stay blessed. Holidays are coming up. Enjoy the time with your family. Enjoy the league. We'll get to the point where we get to enjoy some gear, some championships, and some rebuilding. So I appreciate every one of you guys. This is Commissioner Zai. This is the Badass Fantasy Football League, Year 1. Looking forward to the future and what we can do with this league. And the more involved you guys are, the better. But appreciate it. And if you guys ever want my take on any more topics, LeBron James is the greatest athlete ever. No, I'm just kidding. We can talk NBA any day, though. I love basketball. But I love football. I love Michigan football. And I'm praying we win a national championship. It'd be great, but you got to win one game at a time. No bigger game than Maryland this weekend. The NFL is going to be interesting, but those top 4 teams are better than everybody else. But Lions fans, enjoy it. It's been a long time coming. Oh, last thing I said, talk about the Patriots. If the Patriots trade or get rid of Bill Belichick, I'll be very upset. I'll probably cry. I still think Bill Belichick's the best coach in football. It's not even close. I think that Mac Jones is afraid to get hit, and he's just missing something. Toughness, grit. I think that the Patriots don't have great weapons around him, but that's not an excuse. So we're going to have to draft a quarterback, and we need to get some better weapons or develop. I think Douglas is decent. Other than that, we don't have great receivers. Patriots in our offensive line needs to get better, but it's tough when you can't throw the ball down the field. People get to pressure you. They know when you're throwing it. It just makes it tougher. So, whether it's Caleb Williams, May, J.J. McCarthy, I don't care who it is. We need a quarterback. I hope Bill Belichick stays. I thought some point in the year people were talking about the Sean Payton and Bill Belichick, that they're bad coaches now, and blah, 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 blah. And I think people get to take their shots at Bill Belichick now. They've been waiting for a long time, right? Like Rex Ryan. It's Tom Brady. If I would have had Tom Brady. They got to chill out a little bit on that. The Patriots, you look at their season, pretty much other than the Cowboys, they've been competitive in every game. and it comes down to like one drive, and they just can't fucking score the ball. The red zone offense is terrible. They can't throw the ball down the field. So I'm at the point now where we tank, but Belichick won't do that. But we definitely have a quarterback issue, and we need a quarterback. But I know there's been reports are talking about trading him, and then Belichick's already picked out his next spot, and he's going to be the GM. I hope that's not true. I hope that we can make this work and keep him. But if we do move on, I don't know. I'd like to see Mike Vrabel. I like him as a Patriot guy. I'd like to see us find some guys maybe a little younger. Open the playbook up a little bit, play faster, get a young quarterback in there. But we should be trying to keep Bill Belichick at all costs. Happy Tuesday, y'all. Enjoy it. Go Blue. Happy holidays, y'all. If I don't do another video, enjoy Thanksgiving. Enjoy football. Stay safe out there. Tell your loved ones you love them. Stay blessed. Commissioner out.